when the pasture's growing, basically we're moving them every single morning to a new paddock. And then we kind of mimic this in the winter with rolling out the hay in a different spot every day, if that makes sense.
So when you say growing season, how long is that and when exactly?
It's actually like pretty long for us, and especially because of the ways that we manage the pasture, and it just depends on the rain as well. But we start grazing normally in mid-April. So in mid-April, we're on like the daily rotations. And that can go through, I mean, in past years, it's gone through like December. And sometimes we've even gotten grazing days then later, like if all the snow melts in like February or whatever, and we have grass stockpiled, so that grew higher and then sort of just, you know, fell down and wasn't cut for hay, we can graze that too. So we do kind of have an extended growing season, but we do have kind of harsh winters here as well. So it's unpredictable with how much snow we're gonna get, because the sheep actually will graze through the snow, but the cows are like,
nah.
Yeah, they're like kind of lazy about it. They just like want the hay, they want the ease. Yeah, so then we have everything's mobile, and I love that about it, because I can kind of change. Our herd size is always growing and changing, and then like the grass height is always growing and, you know, changing. And so by keeping everything mobile, I have no permanent structures that I have to work around, which makes it really great for constantly changing the system based on the needs of the animals or the ecosystem. But yeah, and I can show you, like, I'll let her. My parents help me a lot with the farm. It's not their primary occupation. They have an excavating business, which is also very like helpful for the farm, because he helps me develop the water. So it's like a spring that runs into a holding tank and then overflows.
Very cool.
But we've had pretty much like endless water supply through that, so it's been awesome. So we fill the totes and bring the water out to them. So she's just placing a tote right now. And then you guys will probably want to come in when we are getting connected and everything.
It rains here a lot year round?
Yeah, last year we had a drought year, but this year we've had a lot of rain. So actually where we've rotated the cows, we've actually made that we're on the second loop of the same rotation, which is only taking up maybe a third of our grazing acres, which is really cool that we were able to consolidate them to only 1/3 this season. And then we have all of the front pasture that we've reserved for hay, because we do need a lot of winter feed just because of how big our herd is, and you don't know how long you're gonna need to feed hay or not. So I like to have a lot. Basically, normally it doesn't take this long, but because we had like a lot of wind and those got detached, and then there's another thing that got detached. So I told him, I was like, I have to do like a couple repairs. I hope you guys don't care that I need to like work a little bit while you're here. Yeah, we have like very low staffing. It's like me, and then Sarah works 3 days a week. And our full-time employee, Becca, just got injured. So we're like very like, we have a lot going on with like a few people, so I'm like, I have to get as much in while she's here. Oh, she's turning it off. Okay. Yeah, so everything that is now our pasture was, I just want to let Rocky in so he's not barking. You can come in. He only go under the fence, yeah. So since everything that's pasture used to be corn and soy. So that was it. It was conventionally farmed before we started farming it in 2020. So it was all corn and soy. And of course, whenever there's crops, you can't have trees, you know, because it would be hard to harvest the crops. So anyway, our pasture is so, you know, there's no trees or any shade for the animals. So we kind of came up with this idea of the shade cloth that spans between our two structures. So that's the shade, the original shade structure when we only had like 8 cows. That was enough shade for that. And then this is our egg mobile. So that's where all the egg layers lay their eggs and sleep at night. So then we just connect it with bungees and this like little pulley system, and yeah, take it down and put it up every day for them.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I feel like this is like not very expensive. We do go through a few of them a year because the cows like to like get under it and then get stuck in it, put their head through it, and then they like pretend they're little like ghost cows and like, but then they're like spooked because they're like stuck in the shit. Yeah, so we go through a few, but it's a great option for giving shade to the animals if you know, a farmer doesn't have trees or access to that. It definitely helps a lot with like the water intake and just keeping them cool.
Yeah. Does this help against any predators at all? Well, I guess what are the predators for the lamb and I guess the chickens here?
So for chickens, we have a lot more predation with our broilers than the egg layers. And I think that's kind of why we have the sheep and cows together, because the cows are so big that they really deter like a lot of predators.
Especially because it's just straight open.
Yeah. So like we don't really have predator issues with the lambs at all, even like the newborn lambs. Hawks and things, owls will, you know, get chickens sometimes. But I think between like the structures and the cows, the layers are pretty well protected. We've definitely had situations where like a fox or something did like a massacre, a big attack, but for the most part, it's pretty okay. It's kind of just part of the, it's kind of part of like raising animals on pasture. Like you try to protect them as much as possible, but inevitably there's gonna be predator loss. But like the other alternative is like no predator loss, but they're completely enclosed.
Yep.
So I would rather, I think it's about like figuring out the balance between those two things.
Does Rocky help at all with barking? Does that help from the predators at all?
Yeah, probably, because I think that especially like around the house, like the dogs are so active and there's a lot of activity happening up there, and that's where we like start the chickens and the brooder up there. And actually all of our turkeys are up there too right now. You'll see them, but
I didn't realize you had turkeys too. Okay.
Yeah, turkeys. Our turkeys, we don't have a ton, but we've hatched some of our own this year, and so they're all like up there. They're kind of just free range, like they just go wherever. Yeah. I know we have helicopters too.
Yeah, with a giant chainsaw. That's just crazy to see in person.
I didn't have like a specific breed or anything in mind, but I knew I wanted to do heritage breed. And so with the cows, there was a guy in Pennsylvania who was selling his whole herd, and they were belted Galloway and they were trained to single strand electric, and he was moving them every day. So it was like the exact situation that I wanted. And his whole herd was only 8 cows. So it was small. And when I bought them from him, he was like, yeah, they were in with a dud bull and they're probably not pregnant. So I picked them up and I took them straight to my friend's farm, who has like a chute structure set up, and we pregnancy checked them all. We just like drew blood from their tails, sent it out, and they all came back pregnant. So within like 2 months, the herd doubled. So
that's how you started?
Yeah, that's how I started with the cows. Yeah, so that was really cool. And then Rocky, sorry, don't put that on there, are bad dogs that do not help with lives. Usually they're not out here with me. Well, actually, Miller is my dog and she's always out here with me, but Rocky's just like here because you guys are here. He usually like is more chill.
He's showing off.
Yeah, he's showing off. No, go over here. Go, Miller, go. So we have just since then grown the herd. Like I've kept all the females and only processed the males. And also in the interim, the same guy whose facility I used, we borrow his bull every fall. And then I've bought calves from him as well. So that's kind of like the system for the cows. But yeah, they're pretty cool. They do really well. Like the summer is actually harder on them, I think, than our winters. They get like big furry coats, and they're still outside in the winter. They do have more wooded access to have more of like a windbreak and bed down. But they do really well here year round. They're super hardy. And the thing I love about them too is that they really keep their body condition very, very well with the like, you know, some of the breeds, because they are heritage breeds, some of the breeds as they've like modernized them and gotten those breeds used to eating grain, they can't sustain on just grass, you know what I mean? But these are like true, like, you know, heritage breed. And so they do really well on grass alone, even when they're like nursing calves, even when it's winter. Because of the way that we manage the pastures at being like holistically managed, no synthetic inputs, and the rotations, it's like the perfect it's the perfect habitat for a lot of the grassland birds that are losing habitat as people are, you know, growing grass for hay and spraying it, or just not growing pasture at all and just growing crops. So that's really cool because in the spring and early summer when you come out here, it's just like full of like eastern meadowlarks and bobolinks and these other grassland species that our populations are declining. And it's just like such a cool part of the way that we do things in the ecosystem and like truly seeing the impact of regenerative agriculture. And I've seen the cows, you know, leave when we move them to the next paddock. I've seen like them leave like a tuft of grass around just like a little nest. And I don't know if they did it on purpose or if it's just this like beautiful thing that I saw, but it was pretty cool. And so we do cut the hay later because of that, because, you know, they need till like mid-July to fully, you know, have hatched, matured, and be ready to fly away. And so that does kind of, you know, the quality of the hay then declines a little bit, but I think it's like one of those things where it's like a trade-off where like the cows can still do well even with that little bit of decline in their hay, and then it'll, in the like forage quality, they're still fat in the winter and they're still doing well and they're hardy, but then it just allows the birds to be able to you know, more generations to hatch. So yeah, we started with pigs and chickens. We had 100 egg layers, 500 meat chickens, and 10 pigs. That's what we started with, and turkeys too. So that was the first year, which was funny because we have like all this grass, but we started with like no ruminants at all. And I don't know why. I think it was a thing where like the pigs, I knew of another farm who were family friends that did pigs in the woods. And so it was like same situation. Like I didn't care so much about the breed. I just wanted heritage breeds, and I just wanted animals that had that like lineage that was raised the way that I wanted to raise them. So that was like the perfect, like I knew a good spot to get piglets to start pigs in the woods. I actually wasn't even really that excited about the pigs, but I just like, it made sense. Like we have woods, I knew of the place, whatever. And now pigs have become my favorite species for sure.
So you said you started with the broilers and the laying hens. I'm curious, when talking about regenerative agriculture, if that had influence for starting that, because whenever folks are starting to learn more and wanting to start their own thing, I mean, Jill Southton talks about starting with broilers a lot. So I didn't know if that had any influence on you on that decision.
With the broilers, it's like the fastest growing meat. So that was the thing. Like, it was like, how can I'm starting this farm in whatever, early spring of 2020. What is the thing that I can do that will produce meat the fastest? And so that's why the broilers made sense, because I knew that by the end of summer, I could actually have meat to sell, where everything else was going to take, you know, a year to a couple years. A lot. I know. Now we have a self-guided tour here too.
You do self-guided tours here?
I mean, if I like, yeah, I mean, I think I know them, they're friends. And so but I do just tell people that if they want to come over, they can like walk around and see the animals themselves. Very cool. It's just, I think it's like nice. I can't, you know, cause I feel like I don't have enough time to give people proper tours all the time. Sometimes the animals are closer, which is really nice. But yeah, we always let people know, like when they come to the farm store, like feel free to walk around and see the animals. Because I think it's so important, like for them to not just come here and buy the meat, but them to actually see how it's being raised.
And it just helps incentivize them to actually do that.
Yes.
That's why I continue to talk as these visits and everything is you have to kind of incentivize or nudge people to actually take this initiative.
To want to know where their food comes
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
So peaceful and beautiful. Like last night I was like working late. I filled a water tote late because we can only fill so many water totes a day, and I wanted to fill one last night. And all of the lightning bugs were out, and it was so pretty. And I was like thinking in my head, I was like, I wonder if the cows and sheep like also think the lightning bugs are pretty. Like I wonder, you know what I mean? Like I wonder if they're like, oh, the lightning bugs are out, and they're also thinking this stuff is pretty that they see.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I grew up on all those too, so I can relate to that.
But yeah, it's so peaceful. It's so like, I think like Will Harris, this is like a Will Harris quote, but he said if you can like pull up a lawn chair and have a glass of wine and watch the animals, you know it's good animal welfare. You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like you could just spend a really long time just watching the animals do what they're doing.
Well, that's what I was doing half the time whenever you were kind of walking around with us. I was just watching their grazing patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool to see what they do when they first come over, because it's like a big, like they know like, okay, this is today. I want to find the best stuff before somebody else finds the best stuff, you know? Yeah, so that little calf is a bottle calf. So her mom rejected her. I'm not sure why or what happened. This is actually the first bottle calf we've ever had though. And so as she's gotten a few weeks older, she's like learned that she can actually go in behind the mama cow between the back legs so that her butt is facing away from the cow's head. Normally when the calves nurse, they go in sideways and their head, and maybe, oh, you can see that one. So see how that one's nursing? And the butt is almost, if the mom lifted her head, she could smell and make sure that was her calf.
Yeah.
So that one has learned that if she keeps her butt away from the cow's head, the cow will not realize that it's not her calf, and therefore she can sneak milk from every cow.
What a sneaky little calf.
Yeah. Like when we first had bottle lambs, we took the bottle lambs and we separated them. Because I don't know, we just didn't know what to do. We separated them, we bottle fed them, and then when we tried to integrate them back in with the herd, they thought they only wanted to be around dogs or people. Yes, they were afraid of sheep, even though they were sheep. They were terrified of the sheep, they just wanted to run away. So it took like a while for us to like get them integrated. So then we started just actually leaving all the bottle animals out here and bottle feeding them here, and they have like a much more normal quality of life. And even in this circumstance, like she's able to get milk from the moms. If we were to have separated her, you know, she just wouldn't have the same experience. Yeah.
They're all running around in a circle together and doing
Yeah.
So what benefits are there to keeping all three animals in the same paddock together? Outside, I know you mentioned with the cows kind of helping with predation. Is there like actual elements to healing this land to where putting them together?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, so like I think the predation is like the big, well, so there's multiple things. There's the predation, like the cows deter predators, like, and so we don't have to worry about the lambs. But then two, it's easier to move one group of animals once a day than move multiple groups of animals once a day. So if we had the cows and sheep separate, it would be more work for us. And they do really well together. Like I feel like between the smaller ruminant and larger ruminant, they're grazing things a little bit just different enough that it's getting a more even, I mean, you can see like it's evenly grazed. Yeah, the sheep are definitely less picky. So I think the cows will eat, you know, the more desirable stuff, and the sheep will eat what would be less desirable for the cows. So they're like kind of looking for different species of grasses. And then the chickens, I mean, you know, they go through, they kind of scratch out the manure, and that helps it to not be like so clumped, you know. But I don't know how, I mean, like we still have flies. But again, it's like not something I wouldn't treat them for flies, because you would kill every, if you treated for flies, you would kill the other bugs.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so like you need the bugs, so they just have to deal with the flies for a couple months of the year, you know?
I've got them. This is cool. It was interesting watching the cows and the sheep together. That's what I was also watching.
Have you been to any farms where they do that?
No.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I was just really watching how they really work great together.
They work great together, and they are bonded. Like, I feel like anytime something new is like born, they all like investigate. Like it's
really?
like they're like the crazy ants of, yeah.
Everybody's going to the
Yes.
farm because they don't do it separate.
No, right. Like yeah, exactly what Sarah's saying. If the sheep needed to go to the barn to be sheared, the cows would go too. Everybody would go up. Yeah,
I've never heard that before then. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's no way to separate them.
Realize that every single day, that's what they do. They always go together. And sometimes the sheep lead the way and sometimes the cow lead the way, depending on what's going on. But like, if one goes, the other will keep trying to go whether you like it or not. You might as well just accept they're staying together.
Yeah.
Now, how big do the sheep get?
Well, they're the biggest, but like, that's an adult ewe right there.
Yeah.
Hermie!
And I think that's Sherman the bottle lamb, and he's not quite full grown. But yeah, that's an adult ewe, so that's about the size that they get. Like, for example, the hang weight, like when we process them, is like between like 35 and 45 pounds is like the hang weight. I think it's up there. Yeah. And then that one goes on there.
I love all the moss and the rocks.
Yeah. Boy.
Yeah, so we're in the muddy, well, it just rained a lot, so it's quite muddy. As you can see from this, that's where these pigs previously were, got moved here, and so we actually had to move the 2 shelters back there from pretty much the mud pits to that. And it took all 4 of us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so Firefly Farms, which is in Accident, it's just a town over. They're a really big cheesemaker. And so during the cheese making process, what gets separated out is all of the water content and the whey protein from the milk. So it just goes into a big like cooled holding tank, and we just pick it up for the pigs. So we use the large IBC totes that are like 300 gallons, and we go pick it up a couple times a week, and then we just feed it out to them. So it's 90% water and 10% whey. So it looks like milk. So they drink it as they would drink water, but they like it more than water because it has like the whey protein in it. And I think it definitely impacts the flavor of the pork as well. It just makes them that much more awesome. But it's cool because it's like, it's just a byproduct. Like they have no real outlet for the whey because they're not scaled enough that it would make sense for them to invest in a human grade equipment or dehydrate it and sell it as a protein. It's like, so there's other pig farmers that pick it up too in the area. So we're really fortunate to have that. And like, yeah, the pigs love it.
And then how much whey do you feed them?
I mean, they probably each drink like 3 to 5 gallons of whey a day.
Wow. I didn't know. I was waiting for the last part and you said day. That's
no, yeah, they drink a lot of, I can't believe they can drink that much. But that's the other reason why they don't really drink water, because they get all of the water through that whey. Yeah, they love it. He's rooting a big. So they root for multiple different reasons. Like they root to find food underground, but then they also root to just make little beds. Like I think that's probably, partially what he's doing right now. Like the deeper he roots, the cooler it is. So then he'll lay down there. But it's totally like their most natural instinct is, yeah, he's making a bed. So it's totally their most natural instinct is the rooting behavior. Like I always say that they root even like when they're in their mom's bellies, because if you feel them in there, and like I swear it's just their little snouts, you can feel like pushing against the mom's belly. And then they start rooting like as soon as they come out, and you can see like the design of them is like they have these really short, thick necks and these really long and strong snouts that are, you know, just make them like the perfect excavator. But then they have like these tiny little delicate hairs on the end of their nose so they can, you know, find. It's like the strongest but most sensitive thing at the same time. They also love hiding behind trees. And then like looking around the tree.
Like little puppies.
Oh, so they're back there nursing. When they first have litters, they have really big litters, and then like almost like too big. Like their first litters are always like almost too many piglets. Like, and then their second, third ones are like good, you know, good sizes. And then, so like Spuds is probably getting closer to being, you know, she's like done because she only had 6 piglets this litter, where like her last one was like 10. Cowgirl has 10. That's like a strong litter is like 10. 10's like a good number. But sometimes, I mean, I've seen them have like 14. It just depends. But yeah. We don't wean, so we don't ever well, like at some point, you know, they'll obviously get separated from the pigs, but we don't separate them before they're done nursing. The moms will just naturally kick them off by like 3 months. And it's like they have enough space, you know, to get away from the piglets. It's not like they're in a confinement situation where like they can't get away from the nursing piglets and therefore you have to wean. Like they can do it very naturally, where they're just like can get away from them or kick them off or just lay down on their stomachs.
That's what they do, they'll lay on their stomachs to just say, I'm done?
They'll lay on their stomachs when they don't want them to nurse, yeah. And then, yeah, and then they roll on their sides when they do, you know, when it's like time, like, and they do a lot of little, they have a very different oink, like a very maternal, almost like a singing to their piglets oink when the piglets are nursing. So it's cool. They all have unique voices too. I don't know if that's the case for like all species, it could be. But yeah, so all the pigs have their own voices, even though they, you know, to us it's like indistinguishable. But I heard that and I didn't really, you know, connect the dots until I had taken a video in another paddock of pigs. And then I visited another group of pigs and I was like uploading it to Instagram, and the pigs heard the video of the other pigs from another group snorting, and they were all like on alert. And they were like, oh, oh, oh. Like they couldn't figure out where it was coming from or who those pigs were that they were hearing. So that was really cool.
That's gotta be wild.
Yeah.
To just randomly experience that.
But like, look at them. They're so happy. They're just like.
Just munching and enjoying the woods.
Yeah.
How old are the piglets?
So some of them were born June 28th, so like 3 weeks old, and then some of them are like a week and a half old. Yeah, so there was like a week and a half gap between the litters. Such a misconception about what pigs eat, because it's like they are omnivores. Like they eat basically everything, you know. They eat plant tops, they eat plant roots, they eat bugs, they eat nuts.
That's also the interesting misconception too, is because most of the pig industry is so destroyed, and what most people see is what they see from confinement areas, the stuff they're fed there is just horrific.
Yeah, I know. It's, yeah, like they have such a diverse diet, you know, because it's like they have all of this forage, and because of the frequency of movement, I do think it's like, I do think like what we said, it's hard figuring out the balance between how often to move pigs, but realistically, you know, not everybody moves their pigs as often as we do. So like but having the access to the forage just gives them such a more diverse diet. And it really impacts the flavor. Like, I think it's so interesting. It's the same thing with grass-fed beef. Like, I'm sure you know, all grass-fed beef tastes different because of different grasslands, different species. And it's the same thing with the pork. Like, it tastes different times of year based on what they're foraging. And I think that's like how meat should be. It should change flavors. You should be able to have distinctions. But whenever the animals are raised in these confinement, large factory settings, they're fed the same thing. So it's like the most consistent meat ever at the grocery store, where like this steak is always going to taste and smell and look this way. And it just kind of like is a really bad way to raise animals, but also it takes the whole fun out of like how meat should taste and be. Nuanced.
Well, I forgot, I don't know if it was a documentary or the book about finding the best steak, and the guy said essentially the best steak in the world he's ever had and the worst steak in the world he's ever had is grass-fed and finished. And just because that just shows how big the spectrum is.
Totally. Find any manure too, but it is.
No, there actually is over here.
It is right really cool to see how there's been just like I think like the mycelium, everything is just like the manure breakdown happens so much more rapidly in the forest than even in the pasture. Yeah, I think it's just because of all of the like mycelium and like fungi and this isn't a great example, but yeah, like so there's no bad odor. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't smell like manure. It doesn't smell like a barn at all.
Well, that's a good point too. Not even the barn, because the one thing that I learned quick was whenever driving past farms, it's not supposed to smell terrible.
Yeah, no.
And so now I realize, oh, that's a sign of mismanagement.
Yes.
Every time I drive past one, because even like in West Texas, where there's a lot of cattle feedlots and whatnot, you can smell it from miles away.
Oh yeah.
And here, yeah, I'm so used to it now, visiting all the farms that are doing it, I'm so used to not even having that, to where I'm just now realizing whenever you mention the smell, I was like, yes, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it's something I talk about like when people are coming for tours, because yeah, you don't think about it, and then it's like you say, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, there is no smell. Like, it just smells like we're in the forest. It doesn't smell like there's livestock being raised here. And it's because of the movement. Really, it's because like there's not a stockpile of manure. The animals aren't staying in the same place for too long. And then what's happening is that the soil is just using that, you know, manure as just fertilizer, and then it's getting broken down naturally. They're getting curious now.
Smile for the camera.
They literally have like one thought at all times, and it's like, is this food?
Yep.
Is this something that I can eat?
Is this rubber boot?
Yes, they just like.
My brain is very similar. 80% of the time.
Yeah, they're so cute. I love it when they come out behind the trees.
Yes.
Like they're like hiding, but then they're. The other thing is that pigs don't really have sweat glands, so they don't release heat the same way that humans do. So they don't have that odor either.
And I know that's why they burrow a lot too, to cool off.
That's why.
Do piglets burrow as much?
No, yeah, they do too. They use mud as a cooling mechanism. Yeah. So that's why you'll see muddy pigs, is because that's a cooling. And like the whole conception that pigs, like a pigsty, or like pigs are messy or dirty, is like so not. Like they even have select areas that they'll like go to the bathroom in, and then areas that they eat. You know what I mean? Like you can see where they've collectively decided, okay, this is the bathroom area. it's interesting.
Well, that's why I feel like, I mean, there's always misconceptions for every animal and farming and ranching in general, but to me, there's the most misconceptions around the pig because of social media, but then all the factory farms and the fact that there's not many people like you actually doing this anymore in America. And then thinking on, there's like the whole parasite aspect too, because that's another thing I've seen people latch onto online, to where they will refuse to eat any pork because they believe that
They're nursing too.
That's cool. But yeah, they believe that all of them just come with parasites. Do you ever get questions like that from customers?
I I actually have not gotten the parasite question a lot. But I get what you're saying. I agree. I think it's like the most misunderstood species, and maybe that's why it's like my favorite, because I feel like I have to like defend it because they're so cool. And I think it's also, like, I will say, of pork that's like, if you're talking about animals raised on a regenerative farm versus meat from the grocery store, the difference between the forest raised pork and pork from the grocery store is like the biggest difference. You know what I mean? If you were looking at grass-fed beef versus conventional beef, like, the gap is closer.
Way
like
closer.
Pork is like almost not even the same species, because they're raising industrial breeds that have lighter meat, that have less fat, that are like, you don't get the nuance and flavor, you don't get the really delicious fat, you don't get like the deep rich flavor. And so, like, I think that has given pork a bad rap, because I think, in my opinion, it is the best protein.
I haven't had grocery store pork in, I can't even remember the last time I went, because I just do not trust that at all.
No.
Even before visiting farms and ranches, I never did, because I just remember it just always tasted so nasty, and I wouldn't feel that great. Because I talked to another, he's a pig farmer in around SF, and he talks about how there's so many customers to where they wouldn't eat pork for years, but then they tried his and they could finally start digesting it again.
Yeah.
It's just like, that in itself is very telling.
Yeah, I've heard people say that they have pork allergies. And I don't know and it's like, I don't know what. Well, I think it's the most diverse protein. Like, it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know? Like, and it's also like the only animal that you're getting like full charcuterie out of. And like, also people try to recreate like the coveted bacon, you know what I mean? People are trying to make like turkey bacon, mushroom bacon. Like, it's just, I think it's so diverse, and and I feel like it's used among so many different cuisines too. Cultures,
Do you guys celebrate?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to go to the farm store too, and I'll show you guys the farm store. So we do send our fat out for fatty acid analysis too, because that's another major argument, even in like regenerative or carnivore, that basically pushing to eat grass-fed beef because pigs and chickens are fed corn and soy. But the thing is that, like, I hate that so much, because like, there are people like us who feed the pigs diets that we do no corn, no soy, and all of our feed is certified organic. And we've sent it out for fatty acid analysis, and the linoleic acid is like 4.1%, which is like on par with like grass-fed beef. So there's no difference in the PUFAs in the meat or the fat. And I think like we should be pushing for more people to eat pork and chicken that's raised that way, instead of just like dismissing those proteins, because those animals are really, really useful. Like, look around, what other species could we put in here? You know, we couldn't raise, like, you couldn't raise cows in here. There's not enough forage for them. Or you would have to take out a lot of trees in order to turn it into a silvopasture, which would be taking away a lot of habitat for other species. So it's like, pigs do really well in here, and we have the land and space, and it creates this really amazing protein. So I think there should be more people advocating for like eating pork that's raised this way, or eating chicken that's raised that way.
That's what I'm trying to do with pork in particular, because in America, just going back to the grass-fed thing that you were talking on, so many Americans, I said this on the first visit with the other pig farm, that thyroid health is really under-discussed in America. And when talking on vitamins, B1 is huge for that. And when you think of the actual protein sources, and one of the best ones of that is pork.
Yeah.
And so if we have good sources of that, I think that could really help with health too in America, especially with women. Because I don't know, to me, I think that is I mean, I have Hashimoto's, so my thyroid, and I think a lot of people don't realize that that's one of like the key issues of their health is their thyroid health.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really cool point too. I've had several customers also, and this would be like for a majority of small farms because they're all processing the same way. Because the question that comes up is like, do you have any fresh meat, like that's not frozen? But then on the other end of the spectrum, it's like I have customers who specifically want the meats that we raise and the exact way that we process it, where it's like slaughtered and then hung and then it's cut, and immediately upon being cut, it's vacuum sealed and frozen. And that just stops, it prevents so much bacteria from getting to that meat. And because what's happening is that it's like, you know, meat at the grocery store, or if it's cut, then it's exposed, and then the histamines are increasing. So, and that's causing people having a lot of issues with that. So it's like getting through to people that like, this is actually so fresh because it's cut and packaged and immediately frozen. It's not sitting around and then packaged and then frozen. Is like another educational component, I think, that some people realize and some people are looking for, and then some people don't realize why it would be beneficial to buy the frozen meat from the local farm. Well, for example, like meat that's sold at the grocery store, that could have almost even been pre-frozen as well. Because like if you think about a grocery store, okay, they're getting meat in larger pieces, whether it's like a quarter or like a loins coming in or whatever, and then the butcher shop at that grocery store is then breaking it down, and then they're like putting the cuts out in the cooler. So like who knows where the meat even came from, or you know what processing facility, or like went through Cisco. So it could have been previously frozen in like a larger chunk, and like I don't even know the time window between that, and then they're cutting it and then they're putting it on display. And I'm not sure exactly how many days they can leave it on display before they have to then, okay, package it and put it in the other refrigerator case. And then they freeze it. So it's like how much exposure that meat has had and how much less fresh it actually is, even though to the consumer it's perceived as fresh because it's not frozen. But it's been like up and down, and it could have been frozen before and then defrosted. And
that's just crazy, just hearing you explain all that on top of like just the conditions they're raised,
yeah,
and then the feed and all of that combined. It's no wonder you literally can't digest that stuff because it's hot garbage.
Yes, it's like, right, it's exposed to so much, and it's, yeah, it's definitely just best to like, to know your farmer and buy your meat from them.
Do you process on farm here?
We do not process on farm because everything has to go through a USDA inspected facility for us to sell. So all of the animals we take on the stock trailer to a federally inspected facility for slaughter and breakdown and packaging, and then we get the meat back.
Is that difficult to schedule? Because I know that's a massive bottleneck, is the whole processing in America.
So it was challenging at first, and I had a really hard time getting in, but now that I've been a little bit more established, I actually have like preset appointments. But yeah, like you have to, like I have appointments set out for a year, which that kind of creates a little bit of like, because I don't know exactly how many pigs I'm gonna have because it depends on litter size. So it does require like, you have to have those appointments in advance, and then you have to kind of figure out how many. And sometimes I am kind of scrambling last minute to call other processors if I have more pigs than I have appointments for, or more cows than I have appointments for, and to get in those last minute appointments. It's not like, oh, I have an animal ready, I can just call and go that week. It's like, yeah, it's like a year in advance.
I remember my wake-up call was 2022 in June. I was visiting a ranch in Colorado, and we went to the processing facility. He was having it processed for September of the following year. And yeah, that's when I learned that That's tough.
It is tough. And that's like the other thing is like the cows, like it's such a, you just don't know exactly when they're going to be ready. And then it's like, if they're not quite ready for that appointment, like what do you do if you can't get another appointment? Like, it's like, do you just slaughter because even though it's a little bit less, you know, it's a little bit smaller than you wanted, or do you wait longer? It's like, yeah, trying to make those like, those decisions. We have, I mean, sometimes, so like, we do a friends and family 4th of July pig roast. And so for that, we'll do that on the farm. We'll just slaughter and do the scalding and scraping on the farm. And I love that because it's like the way that we raise, I mean, like they were born in the forest. They spend every single day in the forest. They have never, like their hooves have never touched anything except for the soil. They've never like known synthetic lights, you know, they only know sunlight and moonlight. And then they get loaded on a stock trailer and then they get unloaded at a facility where like they're immediately stepping onto, you know, concrete. And then they're like all these lights, you know? And so I think that's like the kind of the toughest part is that, you know, their last moments are in just like this totally different environment that they've never been exposed to. But whenever I am able to do the harvest on farm, it's like they're just in the woods, they're just eating, and then it's like basically just lights out. It's the most humane sort of way to do it, but yeah, there's no other way to get around the regulations. There's no way to get around the regulations. They have to go to federal facility for us to sell the meat. Yeah.
I can notice the subtle size differences between them now too.
Look at that one going over the log.
He's just chilling.
I'm so glad you caught
But they love playing. Like, I think they're also much more like athletic than people think they are. Like, they really can like get around and jump over things and whatnot.
Yeah, they're so fast. When they
Oh yeah, they're so fast. They like dart arounds.
Yeah, and then that one is, oh wait, I was gonna say he was chilling and then he just got up.
But no, it's like, it's a super great life. Like, it's a super great life for them. I think it's like a karma thing too. It's like, I don't know, wouldn't you want to raise meat from animals that have this like happy, natural life? Like they're, you know, versus like an animal that was like stressed and wasn't able to express its natural instincts, and then it's like that's what you're using to sustain your life versus like this that's like feeding. It's all kind of part of this, you know, beautiful system.
Yeah, you don't see zoomies inside a pig confinement area, but that's all.
No, have you been in one?
No.
So during COVID, there was a whole bottleneck because basically what happened is that there were like COVID outbreaks in slaughterhouses, which shut down the slaughterhouses. And everything is on a very strict schedule. Like pigs are finishing out, they need to go to slaughter, and there's more piglets that are born that are taking their place in that facility. So like, you can't just wait a couple weeks. I mean, we're talking like millions of animals, like, or hundreds of thousands. If one large scale slaughter facility gets shut down for a week, it's like, well, I don't know, 100,000 animals. It's something like massive that then can't be processed. Okay, so there were like farms in Ohio that happened, the slaughter facility shut down, and they were going to either have to euthanize the pigs because there was nothing else to do with, like, any pigs that basically they put it out there that we're selling pigs for this amount, they're finished, but you have to take them live, you have to figure out slaughter, or else they're getting euthanized. Like, that was the deal. And they were like a pretty low price, I don't know, $150 or something for like a full size pig, just so that the farmer could recoup some of that, you know? So we took a stock trailer and just put in as many as we could fit, and I think it ended up being like 20. But oh, that was the first time I was ever in a factory farm, and I was just like, and we had pigs here at the time, And I was just, they were so different. Like when we brought them here, we had set up an area in the barn with a fenced in area outside of the barn. We were only keeping them for maybe 3 days before we were doing the slaughter, and then we were just donating the meat. So I mean, they like didn't know like what to do. Like they didn't know like what grass was. Like they didn't, you know, and then they cut off all their tails, which is also like they just didn't even look like our pigs.
Yeah, it's
like,
dystopian.
Yes, they just looked like
I mean, it's a pig,
weird
it's a factory.
meat creature, like monster. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like I don't want to talk like, yes. And it was like sad that the pigs are bred to like look and live like that, and then it's sad that we eat that, and then the conditions. It's like, imagine like living on a hard surface your whole life. You never get to like do all of the things that your body is saying, like, this is what I'm designed to do, this is what I'm meant to do, this is what my instinct is to do, is to root it, like, and they never get the opportunity to do that. It's just, it's sadder in person than even like the pictures and videos.
I can only imagine. What?
Yeah.
Was it the smell too? Was it bad there?
No, the smell wasn't bad, and I think that was because they have like the graded floors. So basically there's like the floors are open enough that they can be sprayed down. So all the manure, which is another thing that I talk about with people, because I'm like, it almost is better to buy meat from a factory farm pig than like a farmer who's small scale but like keeps them in the barn their whole life. You know what I mean? Because it's like that facility is like more set up to keep the space really clean, to make sure the animals are healthier, you know, like, yes, versus like a farmer that, you know, just raises pigs in a barn because that's what they learned in 4-H, and that's how their parents raise pigs in a barn, and then the pigs, whatever, they clean their stall once a, you know what I mean? There's living in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if there's things going on the farm, they're just not gonna pick that back up, or just leave them behind, essentially, of the conditions they're already in.
Yeah. I think like one of the biggest pros too, for like from a human like labor standpoint, is like we never have to clean shit. Like we just move the animals, then that's it. We don't have to like shovel manure ever. That is like not part of my job whatsoever.
Would you still be doing it if you had to do that?
Well, the worst part is with the brooder, like when the chickens come, they have to be inside until they get feathers. They're mimicking like a mom laying on them. So we do have to clean out the brooder, and everybody hates that job. Like everybody hates that job. I
remember doing that.
Yeah. So I guess we do shovel a couple times a year. But for the most part,
she's
at least she's not barking. She stopped barking. Just like the years, I've just had different thing would be like to show you guys the garden. And so we built the farm. So this building was here, but we transitioned it into the farm store a couple years ago, which is awesome because before that, people could buy from us. We were doing markets, which we still do, farmers markets, but I just love people coming onto the farm, because I think like it's so important for people to just be on the land where the animals are raised, to have the opportunity to see the animals, and just that full transparency. Like, because I think going to a farmer's market is great. Of course, you can access a lot more people, but they're still reading off of a sign, or I'm telling them. It's still kind of like similar to the grocery store, where they don't get to like really see where the food is produced. So I love that people can come here and then they can shop the glass freezers, because again, it's like you're getting the balance between what people are used to, which is like seeing the meat, not reading off of a menu of what they're gonna buy. So they can see everything and we can talk about everything. So right now we have chicken. So we didn't get to see any broilers today because we're in between batches, but we have all of our pasture-raised chicken in the first cooler, all of the forest-raised pork in the second one, and then grass-fed lamb and our grass-fed beef
What's cool for this though is, for example, I picked up a pork tongue and a kidney, so that's something you don't get really in grocery stores.
Yes, and then this too, oh wait, let me pull a different one that says Copa on it. Yeah, so this is a Copa steak, so it's pork, but it's kind of a cut that I don't think a lot of small farms would carry. I don't even think a lot of grocery stores would carry. It's a muscle in the upper shoulder, and it's the same muscle that they would make like capicola out of. But we just get it cut into steaks, like it's uncured, so it's just fresh. And I just cook it exactly how I would cook a beef steak. Like I just cook it medium rare, and it's like beautifully marbled and delicious. So this is like another special thing that you can get here. And then the bone broth is new as well. So I found a facility that was able to make us the bone broth, which is great. So yeah, everything has to have the USDA stamp for us to sell it in the store. So sometimes, you know, that can be challenging to get exactly what you want. Like I've wanted to be able to sell bone broth, but I hadn't found a facility that actually did bone broth that was USDA inspected. So finally finding one has been cool, because now I have the pork stock, the beef stock, and the chicken stock.